curator for media performance art in MoMA in New York. She will have a conversation with the artist that you will hear and Magda Lipska. So I hope we can bring out some interesting points also in relation to the topic of our conference today in that conversation. And although it's not written in the program, but I think it's important to open the conversation to the floor and ask some questions. There's one important point I didn't make this morning, and it is probably you're asking yourself why we started with the Russian experience yesterday and we're doing that today. And for us, as I'm speaking from the point of organizers of the conference, it was important that we introduce the Russian experience in relation also to, very importantly, to parallel developments in other parts of the world. And it is very important to see how they oppose or they complement, or this relationship between this experience and the other experiences that we'll hear today. Okay, with no further ado, I'm very, very pleased to introduce Laura Lima. Laura Lima, she's from Brazil. She graduated with a degree in philosophy from the State University of Rio de Janeiro and has also studied at the School of Visual Arts of Parque Lage, if I pronounce this right, also in Rio de Janeiro. She has participated in several exhibitions, such as the 24th and 27th Sao Paulo Biennales, respectively in 1998 and 2006. To Age, Chapters Art Center in Cardiff in 2004. Very recently, I want to mention also 11, 12, and 13 rooms in the Manchester Art Gallery in 2011, 12, and 13. And also, she just opened a major solo show in Migros Museum of Contemporary Art in Zurich, just now, in November, basically. I missed it, and I'm really sorry for this. She will, she's preparing for her first major solo show, also at the Bonniers Konsthall in Stockholm in 2014. She founded and directs the artist-run gallery Argentil Carioca in Rio de Janeiro with Ernesto Neto and Marcio Botner. In 2000, she also became the first artist with a performance piece in the collection of Brazilian Museum, the Modern Art Museum of Sao Paulo, which is very important as well. She will talk about, her presentation is called, as you can see on the screen, Ornamental Philosophy, Architecture, and I Never Rehearse, 3 different points of entry to her work. Thank you, Laura.
You can put the first one. Well, thank you for inviting me. So I was very happy. I like the subject, ethics. But there is this, what I feel here is that actually I'm not a performer. Maybe I would call myself much more a visual artist if we have to make difference, but I think it's not really a difference. I had to create a title because they asked me for a title. So maybe if we see the image, I can talk a little bit more. So I think it's very important for you to understand that I'm not a performer, and actually I don't call my things performances. So I can call them work of art or pieces. But I understand that they touch this subject a lot, and it was very funny because I've been talking about this for a while, and then this happened about a museum buying a performance of mine. So maybe we can see some pictures and then I can explain a little bit more my ideas. Well, it's very important for you to understand why it touches ideas of performance, because I work with living things. I have to do this, no? Okay. Well, this is a piece of mine. In the beginning, I had to kind of organize my ideas with these living things, and I started calling them man flesh, woman flesh. So the idea that I understand that then as matter. So when I met those people that I needed for constructing my image, I was explaining them the idea that they were matter for me. So it's like much more an idea of a sculpture or a sculpturist. So I was explaining them. So I was giving instructions for them, and they wanted to rehearse, and I said, no, 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 we're not rehearsing. It's not about this. I cannot control the image at this point. We can make a deal. This conversation is a deal. I am explaining for you what I think you are for me. So you are a kind of matter that I can mold you in an image. So I gave them instructions that they should fight, connected by the top of the head. So this is a double hood. They start fighting. It's not about winning the fight. And what was important for me that I showed this piece many times, and then now I understand that's much better if when I go to a museum or in a institution, I have to actually create with the institution a whole schedule with lots of men to fight together. Because if you put two men fighting every day in a museum, they will start just representing this fight. So it's not this point, so they don't have to know each other. So we start this. So I'm just showing some image, so it's not about having videos here, so I just brought some few images about this. So this piece is called Hood, and it's part of this group of works called Man Flesh, Woman Flesh, where I bring this idea of people being flesh, being matter. So let's show. Oh no. I have to understand this. So what is important in this structure, this conceptual structure of man flesh, woman flesh, that the first work, I decided to do my first work in this group of works with this, let's say, philosophy of construction with living things being matter, that I decided to start it with a cow, actually with an animal. So part of this structure of man flesh, woman flesh, has the presence of some animals. So this was a cow that I brought from the mountains in Rio to this urban beach called Ipanema. Maybe you have already heard about this. It's a very urban beach. So suddenly it was there, a cow. So people got like, what's that? So it was this displacement of subjects was sometimes it's very important for me. So I started this conceptual structure of man flesh, woman flesh with a cow. Living things. Well, this is a woman that is sleeping. She's connected by the top of the head to the architecture, the wall actually, the place where she is. And she is wearing this long gown. Actually, she's sleeping because she's sleeping by the influence of sleeping pills. So when I do this work, it's funny because lots of women appear to do this. So every day I have to work with a different woman because of this very strong sleeping pill. And they sleep, and the image is completely different every day. And one thing that is important is that since I started those works in mid-90s, I wanted very much that the image was since the first day until the last day of the exhibition. It was not about doing just in the first night. It was very important that we could keep the image. That's why it approached a little bit more with the structure of sculpture. And then it was kind of hard at that time to do those exhibitions because it was very expensive to have lots of people because I want them to be paid. And sometimes, depending on the work, I can do in some places and I cannot. For example, this piece was supposed to be done in Sweden, and it was not allowed because of the medicine the lady shall take. Because sometimes they just tell me, oh, let's have some phytotherapy, and I say, no, it shall be a very strong one that they use for surgeries. So the lady is this piece. You can make questions later. When we have the opportunity, maybe I can explain some details of the work that maybe can concern about this subject that we're dealing with. Well, those works I'm showing just got some examples of this idea of instructions. So you could see about people sleeping with, by the influence of some drugs, or a cow, for example, how can I give instructions to a cow? Or, for example, this idea that these men have to fight. They just come to a museum, and then I tell them, look, you have to fight, or you just have to be naked, because this is a kind of important thing about the structure of the image. So I construct these apparatus. That's why they are not dressed on. And for example, the idea of instruction for this guy that's just a bartender. This is a piece that I'm showing Migru now in Zurich. The exhibition actually is called Bar Restaurant, and actually the guy is just doing what is his work. I mean, he's a bartender, and he is just serving to the objects and matters, different matters and geometric forms, a kind of beer, a good beer, and very cold, with alcohol, which is very important for this object. So the bar is really full of guests, and there is a system. When you get there, you see that it's a kind of very calm and meditative. Somehow, it was a word that someone used when was explaining about this work. I like it because there is a very calm. It's a very calm image, and the guy is really working behind the bar, and he comes and fill all the glasses, and there is a system that the glasses just get empty, a hidden system. Let's see. Well, this goes a little bit more with the structure of architecture as well. It's also work from this group of works from Man Flash, Woman Flash that I started in mid-90s. What I do is that I come down with the ceiling of a room very close to the floor. So the viewer shall do this, lay down on the floor to see the image. So I like very much the idea of this behavior, because the architecture is also the behavior of the architecture, how the viewer sees and gets the idea of the exhibition. So the viewer has to bend and kind of change the behavior, a normal behavior of seeing a piece of art. So they have to bend and see this. And this piece is with this image of the whole room is very, the ceiling is very close, like 40 centimeters. So you see the lamp. And I usually work with, because in my work, depending on the idea, I also use gender people, like I can use children or old people, etc. And for this work, I use people with, there is a word for that, I don't know, that has problems, kind of special bodies, problems. They use a word that I really don't like it, is have a blank. People that walk in wheelchairs. No, yeah, I know, it's people with special needs, but there is disabled, come on. And so people are called disabled. So they have special needs. So it's interesting to make this casting. So I did this work many times, and so I met lots of people with different stories. This is Rogério, for example. He had this poliomyelite. It's a very subtle thing, actually. People, the viewers, sometimes they don't get really what's going on. And this idea that the ceiling is making a kind of pressure in the body and making them different, I mean, or special, or it's really related also with the idea of the sculpture. And I keep telling to all the participants that we are not going to rehearse. The image shall happen in the beginning of the exhibition and ends in the last day. So I work with lots of people, switching a lot. And I tell them the whole structure of the concept of man flesh, woman flesh, that they are matter for me. So I work with living things. So it's very part of the work to deal with this conversation before the piece starts. Let's see another one. This was, I just chose this work because I was just putting some works to understand this idea of the architecture. So what I did is a very black room with a secret. It was very dark, and I only allowed one person to get inside, one viewer to get inside of the room. And it was a kind of big room, very, very dark, with a secret inside of it. So it is just an example what I can do with architecture. And also this idea that I can work with secret things sometimes, so I have to deal with the institution. And for example, if I show this work in another time, I have to make a different secret. So I have to deal all the time with the institution also, not only with these participants. This is a piece that I did very recently in a fair called ABC in Berlin. That I think happened 5 months ago, I don't know. And they used to work with those displays. This year was, they were planning to work with this kind of walls. I don't know if they do this every year. I heard that some year they worked with some tables. So it was a proposal, a curatorship proposal. So what I did is that I just slit a little bit the wall, and someone was behind the wall trying to reach a key. So it was very invisible work. Sometimes I like to work with invisible things because I think of how is exactly what you get about a piece, what you get about an idea, because the boundaries of what you create, you can really make hidden things and play with this understanding of the viewer sometimes. Well, this actually is a work a very recent work that is called Cinema Shadow. It was, I have some images here, just some stills that I put here, so I can just show you a little bit. What was this? It is a project that I want to create cinemas, sometimes very long, with long shots. And what I do is that I go to a place and do an exhibition, but I don't allow the viewer to go and get and visit the film set. So what the viewer has to go is go to the movie theater. So I like changing the place where they are. I mean, where they are going to the exhibitions. So I like they go to exhibitions when they go to the movie theater, and probably they will have to change the behavior, because it's not just sitting there and watching a film 2 hours long. That is the normal and standard behavior for going to movie theaters. They can come every day, because Sometimes the movies are very, very long. And this project, Cinema Shadow, is divided in two possibilities. One is the broadcasting, and this was a film that I did last December, 1 year ago, in Rio de Janeiro. I went to a house that is a kind of museum with a huge collection. And then every day during 33 days, I filmed 3 hours, a long shot, sending the image by streaming to a movie theater in downtown Rio, and also to the cinema in this institution, this old house. So what I did is to create a structure with these participants. They were coming, and then we were dealing with a kind of improvisation, and also with a script that I was working with. So I worked with about 50 people participating, and with different situations. So now I have this very long film of 100 hours. So when I show them, it will take like 2 weeks to show everything. Some more images of it. Sometimes you could really get a kind of story or narrative, obvious narrative, and there was a kind of link. And for me, it was very important that this viewer cannot really get everything. So what exactly you get, from which perspective you are getting ideas from a piece of art. And just, I don't have much time, but I'm just showing 2 more pieces with this idea of ornamental philosophy, which is a special thing for me as well, because it's also about behavior and ornamentation, and the idea that you have to be fluid somehow with concepts, and this idea that you are not really, I was just talking about this, that is something that, what exactly you get from a piece of art, from which perspective. So what I do in this chicken is that I use the same technique of hair extension on them. So I have to, these images are from the Lyon Biennale, so I construct this big cube with a special architecture. So in this piece I work with 40 chickens. So I have to instruct a big crew, the vet doctor and these people that are going to take care of the chickens, and especially the people that are going to glue the feathers on the chickens. So what is special about this work, that the first time that I did this piece, I realized that the behavior of the chickens and the cock, they changed a lot. For example, the chickens that were not with the feathers, you start wanting the ones with the feathers. But the ones that are very ornate are the cock. And the cock start wanting the ones with the feathers. So you could understand, so you could have this idea that the cock maybe was wanting another cock. So you are just giving them meanings, actually, because with the animals, they have such a poor life that we are just giving them meanings in domestication. And this is also from ornamental philosophy. I found that maybe would be interesting to have pieces without bodies. So they are very known and famous design chairs. The first one is that one is from a Brazilian one called Paulo Mendes da Rocha. So I transformed them with a specialist in wheelchairs. And the one is a Marcel Breuer. And this one is a Charles and Ray Eames. And the one is a Diamond Bertoia. So it's this. Thank you.